welcome to the Comfort Zone. I'm Sheryl Corriveau,
And I'm Paula Sullivan.
and today our guest
Like
is
Holmes.
yes. So we're just talking about the award that you just got.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about it?
Sure. So I just got an award from Women Working for Oceans, which is a New England organization of women that are fighting to protect, they're working to protect the right whale, but they're all about preserving the ocean.
That's so awesome. How long have you been working on that?
Well, I've been just doing environmental work for a number of years, and they caught wind of the projects I was working on, and I have this distinct honor, so I'm really excited. The award's going to be at the New England Aquarium on May 21st.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
great.
So they
exciting.
found out about you. So they heard about you.
Right.
Have you been a member? Or are you a member now?
No,
or
not a
just-
member.
No.
No, they just find people to recognize and support.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
So can you tell us, because you're on so many things for the
Yeah.
environment, can you tell us some of them? And then maybe we can talk about how you got started in all this?
Sure. Well, the long and short of it is, I guess I found my voice to be an activist a long time ago. I used to work for Whole Foods, and I was a marketing team leader. And I guess my first real campaign was to save the honeybees. In 2008, I read an article that honeybees were dying in record numbers, and that they pollinated 1/3 of the foods that we eat. And I was really struck by that because I never knew that, and I
Wow.
felt so bad that how could I not know that? But I also felt a deep responsibility because I worked for the nation's largest retailer of natural and organic foods, and I thought people need to know this. So I went back to the store and I created a campaign, and it ended up going global at Whole Foods. So
Wow.
I got so many new friends and learned so much about the bees. And then that's where I really found my voice to be like an activist for something.
Wow.
And so once a few years passed, I thought, well, the bees are in good hands now. I don't need to take the lead. Whole Foods is doing it now globally. So I thought, well, what's next? What am I going to do? And I learned about Monsanto and what they were doing to the seeds. And farmers were really struggling. And there's an organization called the Seed Savers Exchange in Iowa. And there was a documentary film about it called Open Sesame. And there's another great film called GMO OMG. And so if you want to learn about genetically modified foods, which is another issue at Whole Foods. But so again, I did my research, started a campaign, contacted the filmmaker. So I ended up raising enough money to fly Seed Savers out from Iowa to Rhode Island.
Oh
I
my
was working in
God.
Providence store. Flew them out to Rhode Island. They did workshops on seed saving, and the filmmaker came up from New York City. And we did film screenings and got newspaper stories, and
Wow.
and libraries started having seed saving libraries. So
Oh
does
my God.
does Blackstone have one?
I don't know. What
A seed library?
seed library? I don't know. I'll
Because
check.
Mendon
Yeah.
has one, so
Yeah.
check into that.
Yeah.
And actually, I think Kate Donovan, the Blackstone Valley Veggie Gardens, she does some seed stuff. We should
So
look
what
into
does that mean exactly, the seed saving? It's
So it's about whenever you harvest, whatever you're harvesting for your food, you save the seeds and then plant those.
so they're not GMO.
Right.
That's great. Yeah, that's a huge problem.
So all the big crops. So I actually flew myself out to Iowa to go to the Seed Savers Convention.
Wow.
Which
Wow.
was I went to that extreme, but I felt like if I was going to do it, I was going all out and really
Yeah.
do my research. And just driving by the cornfields that were all Monsanto fields,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So how do you think the country has, when was that? What year was that you did that?
Well, the honeybees was 2008, and I think the seeds was, I left in so about 2013 was
So I'm
the-
just curious, in these past few years, since you've been aware of this issue, how do you think the country as a whole has been doing with GMO? Has it gotten worse? It looks like it has. Has it gotten better? Do you see in the stores? To me, I don't know. I see these giant abnormal fruits that are
Oh, that
freakish.
Yeah. Well, you just gotta.
Frankenfruit.
Well, they say there's certain crops, and then I've lost my memorization of which ones, but because I had them all alphabetized and I could recite them all. But, and also checking your labels. But the big thing is like the wheat and what they're spraying on certain crops. So people that say they have wheat allergy, it's really about the Roundup that they spray on the wheat. So it's chemicals.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you feel like the country's doing better? We got good regulations in place, and because I know these big companies, they have, lobbyists in Washington that protect what they're doing, but do you see a shift? Do you feel like it's getting better? Or no?
I wouldn't say it's getting better. You
No.
really have to know.
Yeah.
And so, getting into gardening is good, growing your own food, and going organic. Yeah. And then looking for the GMO-free label. So
Yeah.
the GMO label helps you.
And that begins with a 9, the number if it's organic, right?
Right.
And what is the GMO ones? Is it 8 or what?
I don't
Yeah.
think it has a number on it that says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard, I don't know if it's true, that coffee and peanuts were the most heavily pesticide sprayed
Right.
crops.
Yep. There's a thing if you want to research called the Dirty Dozen. And you can get that list, and they have handy little cards you can print out to put in your wallet. So when you're shopping, you keep tabs on the 12 most, sprayed crops.
You must know them. Can you say what they are?
Well, she just mentioned the 2.
Yeah.
I know that apples is you need organic. Potatoes, lettuce. I don't remember them all either. But I just know that, like, I will not get, I get my coffee always organic. And then I get always organic peanut butter because I went to IIN, so the Institute for Integrative
okay.
Nutrition, and they really smash your beliefs apart because what it is, it's a business. And the business is not for our well-being, it's not for our health. The business is that they make money when we're not well. Yeah. And it starts with the food we eat.
Right. So then my life also took another course. So that was like the food activism, and separately, I started getting involved with protecting the river and getting into the ocean piece. So, so locally, we're here in the beautiful Blackstone River Valley, right? And so we have a couple watershed groups. So in Massachusetts, we have the Blackstone River Watershed Association, and then in Rhode Island, we have the Blackstone River Watershed Council. So I got involved with both in doing river cleanups and pulling water chestnut weeds out of the local tributaries and things like that.
Wow.
And once you start, doing these cleanups, it's very gratifying. Well, first you're out in nature, but then you're leaving something better than you found it, and you have something to show for your time because you got this big pile, So, so I got really involved with that and volunteering with the National Heritage Corridor. And after 15 years with Whole Foods, I decided it was time for a change, and the corridor had changed from a commission to a nonprofit, and so things were shifting and changing, and so I got back involved and ended up becoming the marketing director. And at the same time, we created this Trash Responsibly program, and that was designed to address the litter problems. So I was just thrilled to be able to develop this program. So what I do is I work with local communities to plan cleanup events. So I'm working with 5 directly right now. I work with Blackstone, where you and I live, Uxbridge, Mendon, and Upton. So I don't know when this show's being aired, but there's a cleanup this Saturday in Upton, April 27th. Mendon. No, Upton. Upton, I'm so sorry. Because last week was Mendon. This week is Upton, April 27th. And then May 4 is in Blackstone. And then that wraps up the season. So I do, so those 4. And then we do, this year we did a watershed-wide cleanup on a particular day. So we had volunteers all up and down the river doing cleanups in the river and the tributaries,
Wow.
You are a powerhouse.
Yeah.
There's no
So,
doubt.
and then over the time, I found different things to focus on, and one of them was the more time I spent by the water, I found a lot of fishing debris, fishing line, and bait containers, and I was really disturbed by why are people coming to these local waterways and then trashing it? Like, why would you want to fish? But it was consistent. So I did some research, and I decided I wanted to start installing fishing line recycling units. They have them at the ocean. So if you go to the ocean, you'll see these white pipes on the side of the pier. And it's like the universal language, like a recycling symbol. And so I realized they're all at the ocean, but they're not here. So I worked with local parks and got some of those installed. Well, here's an interesting thing. The more research I did, the company that makes the fishing line actually recycles it. So there's a company named Berkeley, and they make the Trilene brand of fishing line. And they have mail-back programs. You can mail the fishing line back to them with the spools, the empty spool, and they make
Wow.
fish habitats out of it. So I called Berkeley, and they have these cardboard units that they'll ship to local bait shops. And I called all the bait shops up and down the corridor and to see if they were doing it. If not, would they do it? And so I got them all outfitted with the boxes. And there's another program called Stow It, Don't Throw It, which they take tennis ball cans. You can't recycle tennis ball cans because they're plastic, but they have a metal rim at the top.
Okay.
So when you can't recycle something, the next best thing is to repurpose it, find another use for it. So this group in Florida takes the label off the can, puts a tie wrap on the can and the cap so it doesn't blow away, and they put a message on it called "Stow It, Don't Throw It." And the idea is to give these out to fishermen to say, please put your line in this canister instead of leaving it in the bush or on the side, in the water,
Yeah.
and then bring it either to a place that recycles it or you can just mail it back.
Yeah.
So I put a map, I created a map of the valley to put inside the can, directing them to all the,
Wow.
and I still have some, so if anybody wants some, I know there's
Wow.
still some fishing derbies coming up, but where I work at the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor, and we manage the Volunteers and Parks program with the National Park Service, and so we often get requests for volunteer activities for people. So whenever there was an opening, I would say, I have a lot of tennis ball cans. You want to help me prep the cans? So I do have
And
still.
like put a label on them? Is
Yeah.
that what you do?
So
Yeah.
and the great thing that was a fun project. So suddenly I needed tennis ball cans. So I Googled tennis courts in Blackstone Valley, and there's 4 court down in Cumberland, big tennis court. Within 48 hours, I had 2 big garbage bags. And then I needed labels. So I Googled, I like to keep things local.
Yeah.
So I Googled, I found a local printer in Cumberland, Rainbow Print Group, a woman-owned company, by the way. And she does all promotional materials and printing and all that. And she fell in love with the project. She donated the labels. She wanted to be a part of it.
Wow.
So it stayed in the valley. So I had
Wow.
valley hands touching the cans. I
So
had
awesome.
diverted all those cans from 4 courts trash.
Wow.
And then the local company doing the printing. Yeah, so that was a big
Wow.
story. And the most beautiful thing happened a couple weeks ago. We were doing the watershed-wide cleanup at Hopedale Pond, and there were people fishing, and I was picking up litter, and a woman said to me, "Isn't this disgusting, blah, blah, blah." She goes, "I have a can, and I put my line in a can." I said, "Really?" And I said, "Where did you get that can?" And she said, "Barry's up in Worcester." Well, Barry's is one of the places that I have the box and the cans at. So it was like a full circle moment.
Yeah.
And then, so I got to meet someone using it, and then she got to meet the person behind it. Isn't that
Yes,
cool?
my
I
God.
know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And then I did some programs around styrofoam. We were lucky here in the valley that they're no longer, but there was a company that actually recycled it. And he allowed people to leave styrofoam on his loading dock 24/7.
Wow.
So that was a huge opportunity for people.
Yeah.
And because some communities you have to pay to throw, like you buy garbage bags, you pay a price. And so what I discovered is that people hoard this stuff because some styrofoam is really big and they don't want to put it, so they wait for opportunities. So we had 2 big recycling days, 2 years in a row, and the cars just kept coming full of styrofoam. It was crazy. But unfortunately, you saw the way the markets are shifting with
Yeah,
recycling,
yeah.
and he could no longer afford to pay the staff and the price he was getting to resell the recycled. So it's no longer. However, Mass DEP is working with a few communities, Grafton, Westboro, Shrewsbury. So Grafton's the only one in the corridor, but the Tufts Veterinary School provides their parking lot, and they work with Gold Circuit Recycling out of Palmer. And this guy does e-waste, styrofoam, plastic bags, and then some other products. So they contract with him. he comes out to Grafton. We've done 2 of these events, and there might be another one coming up in June. And I've put press releases in the local paper. So I've met people from this area, because I always volunteer to check the cars in, and we always want to know where you came from and what you
Yeah.
brought. So the styrofoam, every car had styrofoam.
Yeah,
Wow.
We just can't seem to get rid of it.
right, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and these events, so the styrofoam was free, and then you pay like $10 or $20 depending on if it was a computer or TV or something like that.
Yeah.
So I did that, and so for this year, I decided it was going to be the year of the storm drain, because I had been
Oh.
obsessed about that for a while, seeing all the trash. So you hear about plastic ocean, right? But we don't live near the coast, do we? So some people might feel like, well, it's not my problem. I don't contribute to it. I live way out here in the valley, right? So for some people, that's a real thought. However, when you realize that storm drains carry everything to a local waterway, it doesn't go to a treatment plant. So then we all contribute to plastic ocean, because that little bottle cap or that straw or loose litter is going to find its way into the storm drain, make its journey to the river, and then where does the river go? To the bay and then the ocean. So this kind of thing had been building up for a few years. So every year we apply for a grant to the Narragansett Bay Commission for cleanup supplies. So this year we applied for storm drain markers. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all out. So I applied for a gubernatorial proclamation in both Mass and Rhode Island to declare the month of May as Storm Drain Awareness Month. So here we
Wow.
are. Yep. So here we are. Yep. So May is the month, and so I'm
Wow.
looking.
Oh
If
my
anybody's,
God.
listening, I'm looking for scout groups and volunteers that want to help out, because your local DPW needs the help. They have to report to either DEP or DEM these MS4 reports, and they're held accountable to do community outreach, but also be marking these drains. And what I'm also excited about is that it's parade season. So what happens at a parade? We bring our snacks, we sit on the local streets right above a storm drain, they throw candy off the floats, and then everybody gets up and goes home. They've already done street sweeping in the spring, and I'm even nervous about street sweeping if it just pushes it into the drain. So, so for these cleanups, like the one in May, we're going to do storm drain marking, and then we're going to work with the watershed group also in Rhode Island. There's a parade in Lincoln, so I talked to the engineer there, and we'll get those marked as well. So it's all about creating awareness,
Yeah.
And sometimes, the reason I drilled it down too to storm drains is like, I just want people to like adopt a storm drain. So if you, on your street, in your neighborhood, wherever, if you can just take one little thing, because if you look at the big problem, it's overwhelming. But if you drill it down to one and you say, okay, that's my storm drain, and if on my way to work I see a coffee cup there, or if you're taking a walk, oh my God, the nips are ridiculous, and those fall in very easily. So if they're just lying there, or if they're a couple feet up, next time we get a storm, the water's going to push all that in the drain. So I think it should be fun.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah. So we could go on forever. I could
Yeah.
listen to you for hours. This is so interesting. Can I ask you one thing though? Because I know a sweeping across the state is the towns not being able to use plastic bags, the stores, which I think is great. But I hear people complaining because they use these bags for, their kitchen trash, and they're so convenient. So what do you think? So what would you tell people as a good alternative? I'm thinking that the little bags that people carry when they take their dogs for a walk are those decompose, right?
They do sell biodegradable pet waste bags.
So would that be a good alternative for somebody?
It wouldn't
that
it wouldn't
wants-
line your trash can, but it would certainly.
just for little things that they
Yeah,
usually use these
right.
stop and shop bags for, and then they'll be, yeah.
So actually, for the past 2.5 years, I've been sewing my brains out, making reusable bags out of birdseed bags and animal
yeah,
feed
that's
bags.
right.
So if you only knew how much of this plastic goes to the landfill.
Yeah.
So whenever you buy a birdseed bag, that's heavy duty plastic. It's all the same. So all the birdseed bags, dog food, I make them out of dog food bags. Any local farmer that has chickens, pigs. So my whole basement is all categorized by all these different animals, and I work with different farmers, and they give me the bags. I teach classes. I'm teaching once Saturday, so I don't know when this is airing, but April 20, after the cleanup in Upton, I'm going to the Douglas Orchard and Farm for 2:30 to teach a workshop there. And they have a CSA program. So last year I made her all the bags, so she wanted to use reusable bags.
Oh, that's
So we're going to be
idea.
ramping up, so she has the bags for mid-June. Yeah. So reusable bags is the way to go.
Yeah.
Definitely. And-
Oh, and then sometimes too, use them as trash bags. That's what I do. So I get so many bags of these reusable bags. They hold 50 pounds. They're indestructible.
Yeah.
They don't rip, so your trash bags rip. These bags don't rip.
Right.
And sometimes I get them and they're just either they're torn at the top or they're just too dirty to make a bag out of. I use them for trash bags. And it's actually kind of fun when trash day comes. So my husband reminds me, and I have fun going down, and every week I put out a different one. So I wonder what the trash man thinks. He must love coming to the house.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be the alpaca, from Quistit Hill Farm, gives me alpaca bags from the farm in Mendon. I get the pig bags from Douglas Orchard and Farm, horses from somewhere, a random birdseed
That's so
bag.
funny.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you used.
Yeah.
And then they just empty it, and then you have it.
Well, they take it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so these bags are going to end up in the landfill anyway. Was what I was trying to say. So even if you get a 50-pound bag of birdseed, right? You could just use it as a trash bag instead of plastic. So what I'm thinking is it's one less hefty bag.
Right.
I'm putting something that was going to the landfill anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's all about reuse.
Yeah.
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 And in fact, I'm really excited. On Tuesday, I'm having a workshop up at our new visitor center in Worcester, the Blackstone Heritage Quarter Visitor Center, on Tuesday, April 30th. I have the Central Mass Recycling Coordinator coming down. We're doing a workshop. There's some updates on recycling in Massachusetts. And so we're going to go over those new rules. And so apparently, no more black plastic can go into the curbside recycling, and no more cartons, they're saying. So your milk cartons, paper cartons, your coffee, paper cartons. So anybody who's curious and wants to recycle right and lives in Massachusetts, you go to Recycle Smart MA, and you'll get the list.
Now, what's the difference between the black and the white bags?
No, what I'm saying, not the bag, I'm sorry, I didn't mean bags, black plastic. So your takeout containers,
Oh.
right?
Okay.
A lot of those, but the other day, so when I first heard about it, she had mentioned it in a conversation about no more black, and I thought, So I went to the store and I bought sliced mushrooms,
Yeah.
and it happened to be in black. But
Right.
it had a number 1 on the bottom, so I thought, well, this must be different than a takeout. So I took a photo and sent it to her, and she said no trash. So I got really upset. So it's really hard. And when I grocery shop, I always try to make bargains with myself about the product that I buy and try to, lessen my impact. So now I feel like I want to talk to Hannaford's and say, and different grocers that I go to, not to call them out, but like raise their consciousness. Like, why is this packed in black? Because suddenly, and they don't know. So packagers don't know. And every state's rules are different. So
Wow.
the black comes down to optical sorters that can't read it. So when there's a lighter color, the light reflects off. So all this assorted plastic goes in, and they have optical sorters that can see it and determine which channel it goes to. And apparently black. And because of the color, it doesn't lend well when you're doing all that blending. So
Wow.
so we're in that situation. So anyway, so on Tuesday she's coming, and there's some people that are into reuse are coming, and different programs. Mass DEP has some grant opportunities for reuse. And there's a gentleman that I've been following and friends with. His name is Alex Eves, and he has a website and a documentary called Reuse, because you can't recycle the planet. He's an amazing guy. And I've done some events with him, and I asked if he wanted to come up and meet these people and like kind of collaborate and whatnot. So he's going to be coming on the 30th. He's kind of like a celebrity if you're into recycling. And reuse. So
Wow.
he is coming, and hopefully we can do some more programming. And one other unfinished project on my list is to hold what they call a repair clinic. They have these around the country. Actually, it started over in Europe. And the idea is to get people together who are handy fix-it people. And people bring their broken stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went to one. They had it in Westboro, and it was like the Lions Club hosted it, and you walked into, like, it was at the library, and you walk in these stations. So the first station, a guy was fixing a kid's remote, like, helicopter. And the next station, a guy was fixing a lamp. So, your socket breaks. It's so easy to fix.
Wow.
And so he was fixing a lamp. Somebody had a broken picture frame, so he was gluing that together. There was another woman who was doing sewing, and she was mending something. And then another station was doing computer repair, and another one was fixing jewelry. So how many
Wow.
necklaces you might have, and you're like, oh, darn, that clasp broke, I'm never going
Yeah.
to wear it again.
Yes.
But the whole idea is that, and it's free, and they put out little donation jars. So, like, those sockets are like $3 at Walmart. So you might want to put a little money in the kitty if it costs them something. But the whole idea of these repair clinics is to repair things and not throw them out. And some of these things are really sentimental for people, so they leave there so happy. So I'm excited to go to this event and learn about the grant opportunities,
Yeah.
so that maybe we can find people here in the valley to host a repair clinic.
Right.
I think it would be a
Wow.
big success.
Wow. That's awesome. So, can you give some advice to average people like us who aren't dedicating their whole lives to recycling but want to do more? So, what do you think are some good tips to give, average people that maybe want to step it up?
Want to step it up? Well,
Don't order the styrofoam.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And this too.
I know. I'm like
Well, we have
hiding.
different levels here of green. So we have the plastic bottle that can be recycled,
Yeah.
styrofoam that can't, and then you have reusable. So I think this is a good example.
Yes.
Just to show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the straw. So I have a metal
Yeah.
straw. So
get an
these
F.
are extremes. And it happens over time.
Yeah.
But I think just to keep the recycling symbol, they say, reduce, reuse, recycle. And I always put the one, try to refuse as the first one. Try to think.
Oh, wow.
So the word refuse.
I've never heard of that.
Right, so
Yeah.
like put the brakes on,
Right.
and say, no, I
Yeah.
don't need a bag. So they're
Yeah.
always giving you a bag for something.
Yes.
So just say, no, I don't need a bag.
Right.
So just stop. The first one is refuse. And then look at it and can I reuse it?
Yeah.
Reduce your
Yeah.
consumption
Yeah.
is the reduce, and then recycle is your last. Recycle should, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Bonnie, how would someone reach you?
You can find me at the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. Our office is in Whitensville at the Linwood Mill.
Awesome.
Great. Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me on. I'm sorry I was chatty Cathy, but
No, you have so
No.
much good stuff
know.
going on.
my motto is, and people know, I love talking trash. So
Oh, I love it.
Harry knows I've been on his show, but no, thank you. I get really excited about it, and I
Yeah.
hope it gets others excited too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
There's so much I want to keep asking you. It's so interesting.
Well, my other motto is be the change you wish to see.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
lead by
Yeah.
example and
Yeah.
get other people excited about it,
Yeah.
and we can make a difference. It's
Yeah.
Absolutely. I believe that too.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
Bonnie. Yes, this was awesome.
Yep.
Another episode of The Comfort Zone.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
comfort.
Thanks.
So don't buy styrofoam.
Right. Thanks for watching another episode of The Comfort Zone.